let's get some analysis on the ANC's January 8 statement. Political analyst Professor Dirk Kotzé joins us now. Prof, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So we expected the ANC President, Cyril Ramaphosa, to touch on more than just the 12 months, given that this is also an election year and a crucial one at that, with the country also marking 30 years of democracy. What are some of your key takeouts from his speech?
Well, I would say, first of all, that it was dominated by election considerations. We could almost all the time hear that what he addressed are issues that will become part of the election and the election campaign specifically. He, for example, also said that the details that normally appear in the 8th of January statement will appear in the election manifesto of the ANC that will be announced early in February. At the same time, I think what he also did, he spent a lot of time in the beginning on stating what are the achievements of the ANC as government, the changes in society in general, the achievements in terms of infrastructural development and other aspects of the government's policies, in order to be able to present the ANC as not a failure, as many people are now talking about it, and that the ANC might lose its majority in this coming election. So I think he emphasized that for quite some time. And thereafter he went into also the notion of the renewal of the ANC. And although there's a renewal commission for some time already in place in the ANC, he listed 5 elements of what will be the new focus of this commission in terms of renewing the ANC. Because part of the criticism of the ANC is exactly that the ANC is not able to address issues like, for example, integrity matters, corruption, the quality of their public representatives, the quality of their members also. So that was a part of his emphasis to a large extent. He then talked about or acknowledged that there are some problems, and that is especially with respect to service delivery, to the quality of infrastructure, electricity, water, and others. And that he made promises to a large extent that will change very soon. For example, load shedding. So that I think is in summary what he presented, which is, as I said, is different from previous 8th of January statements where he went more into the details of what is in the pipeline in terms of policies, because these statements traditionally is the basis on which the SONA address is developed, that he normally presents at the end of January. In this case, he didn't really provide that foundation because of the election and the fact that there will be 2 SONA addresses this year, the one now early in the year and the one after the election.
And I want us to talk about, just that direction that he is taking. I mean, in some parts, one could actually also hear him being emboldened, in terms of, giving stern warnings against those that actually are trying to derail the ANC's focus, talking about, they will not be intimidated and that people who think that we will get less than 50% don't actually know us. To what degree do you think that was actually aimed at what is currently happening within the ANC now with, the former President Jacob Zuma supporting MK, also using Umkhonto weSizwe as the party's name. And of course, just certain other developments that we're hearing now in terms of the former suspended or fired Secretary General of the ANC teaming up with the former president.
Yes, I think you are correct. Those are certainly, although he didn't say it explicitly, but I think many of us interpret it like that, as you did know, that it is a reference on the one hand to this new development in the ANC, President Zuma, as well as Magashule coming together or merging their groups. I think it's also for other persons in the ANC. We know about Roger Jardine, who has an initiative, as well as, I think, even to the EFF, because you referred to the notion that there are some political parties that represent them as more revolutionary than the ANC, that they have a more radical agenda and that they are the true liberators or the true transformers of South African society. And I think he had basically the EFF in mind in that respect. So he wants to present the ANC as actually the middle position organization that can look at all the different aspects across the board, across the political spectrum, and that these others must not sort of deviate their attention away from what the key issues are, and that the public must not be, in a sense, misled by them. So I think this was indeed one of the important messages that he included in this speech.
How should the ANC deal, with the former president, Jacob Zuma? Because, of course, it is an issue. I mean, it has come up several times during its, 112th anniversary, and now it's still a topical issue. I mean, the SACP General Secretary, Solly Mapaila, when he was speaking as part of the alliance, saying that he doesn't know why the NEC is dilly-dallying around the issue of the former president. My colleague earlier spoke to the president of COSATU, and she was saying, that basically dismissing the utterances made by the former president, Jacob Zuma, as, just part of his hypocrisy.
Yes, I think well, I don't know exactly what the ANC's official position is on this, how they will explain it, but my interpretation of it is that I think they are cautious not to give too much public attention to President Zuma. Think back to the time when he was incarcerated about 2 years ago with the events that developed from Nkandla into the whole or many parts of KwaZulu-Natal, that he used this notion that he is actually a political victim, that there's a political strategy against him. And I think what President Ramaphosa and others possibly learned from this is that they must not actively act against him, because then they give him ammunition in order to pursue this logic or this narrative. So what they are saying is the less we address him, the less it appears as if we are concerned about this, and the less, therefore, he is taken seriously by other people. So it is, in a sense, putting him in the political wilderness, or try to force him to marginalize him into the political wilderness and see if that in itself is not going to neutralize him. So I guess that is, to a large extent, the strategy of the ANC. Not to, for example, take him into a disciplinary hearings, because that's the only way in which they can, in terms of Rule 25 of the ANC's constitution, which they can act against him. And that will mean that it will be also almost a trial within the ANC. And remember those days when in 2013, 2012, 2013, when the ANC youth leadership, Julius Malema, Floyd Shivambu, and others were going through a disciplinary hearing. It gave them a lot of airtime, of media attention. And I think the ANC's approach now is to try to avoid that.
Another matter I'd like to discuss with you, Prof, that just in fact happened today, ANC National Executive Committee member Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma deciding to retire as a member of Parliament, sending out that letter to, the Electoral Committee chairperson. What does that mean? How does this also play in just some of the internal challenges that the ANC is currently dealing with?
I think this is less of a political issue than what we've talked about just now. She is the oldest member in the cabinet. Thereafter follows persons like, for example, Pravin Gordhan. My expectation is he's also going to retire, and maybe a number of other members. And that's, as we know, is a natural phenomenon. It's not something which has a sort of a political agenda. I think in her case, she has been in prominent positions, for example, during the time of the pandemic as the Minister of COPTA. So President Ramaphosa did not try to marginalize her. Maybe she can say her current position is not a very prominent one. But there was not an active campaign from his side against her or trying to put her on the margins. So because she is already at an advanced age in terms of politicians, I think this is something which many people have expected, and I expect that some other members, even younger than her, will announce the fact that they will retire with this election.